Hi guys, so today I want to talk to you a little bit about bearded dragon care. This video has been requested a couple of different times, most recently by LK Lovely 101. Keep in mind, again, like I always say, I'm not an expert. This is just what I do for my bearded dragon. So this is Zsasz, my bearded dragon. She is about 2 years old now. She can't really see all the way down, but she's about 18.5 inches long. She's just a normal bearded dragon, no special morph or coloration or anything. Just a little background, I got her from a pet shop who claimed that they were the easiest thing in the world to take care of, and they gave me little to no information about what exactly I needed to do. Luckily, I came home and I found beardeddragon.org, which is an amazing source, by the way, for getting any information about bearded dragons. So I just wanted to give you guys a little bit more information about kind of what I do to take care of her and about what I found out and all of that. So I hope you enjoy. So first thing, I wanted to talk about their habitat. So for a baby bearded dragon, you can keep them in a 20-gallon long, but just know that you will have to upgrade their tank. The minimum size for a bearded dragon is a 40-gallon breeder, which is actually a 50-gallon tank, which that comes out to a 36 by 18 by 18. This tank is a 36 by 18 by 24. As I said in one of my very first bearded dragon setup videos, I got it on sale at PetSmart for $89, so that was a deal that I couldn't pass up, which it is a little tall for her, but I do have this multi-hammock layer system and she does climb up it. It's a National Geographic brand, and it actually has removable vents on the top, and these doors open from the front. So let's talk a little bit about lights. So Zsasz has a 36-inch Reptisun 10.0 high output light in her tank. And I removed one of the screens, the screen on the half where she basks, just because really your UVB light should be mounted to the inside of your tank. A screen or glass on the top of your tank between the UVB light and your bearded dragon can actually filter out up to 50% of that UVB, and they need a lot of it because they are from desert environments. You also need a heat light to keep the hotspot at about 95 degrees. I use a high output heat light in a dome light with a dimmer switch, and that is also on the side without the screen. In my case, I can have her without the screen because the tank is so tall and she's not going to climb out of it. But if you have, especially if you have pets, or if your tank is a shorter tank, or if you know that your bearded dragon likes to climb, I would definitely suggest mounting those lights to the inside of the tank, and you can use industrial strength Velcro to do that with. You don't have to mount the heat light to the inside though. That can go on top of the screen. Just make sure that if you do mount that heat light to the inside, that your bearded dragon can't touch it, because that light gets really hot. I just shot it with the temperature gun and it is 231 degrees. So if your bearded dragon touches that, it's gonna burn her. So definitely make sure you keep an eye out for that. So you wanna have just a normal thermometer just so you can keep the temperature, and this is a thermometer hygrometer just to make sure that her humidity doesn't go too high, because if the humidity in the tank stays too high for too long, they can develop respiratory infections. But what you need to make sure that that hotspot is the right temperature is a heat gun, because just because that thermometer right there says that it's 90 degrees, if that thermometer told me that it was 90 degrees, that means her hotspot is actually about 110, 115 degrees. Because it's going to be hotter on that spot than it is in the air around it. So the temperature gun, you can actually point. It has a laser, and you can actually point and get the temperature of whatever you're pointing at. And it gives you an exact temperature instead of just kind of guessing, oh, maybe it's around this much. So that has been an absolute lifesaver. You want the ambient temperature to be around 80, 85, so like on the cool side. And then on her hot side, her basking spot stays at about 95 degrees. Anything higher than that, she will not get up there. But you can keep it around 95 to a little over 100 degrees. When they're babies, you actually want to keep it about 105. But even when she was a baby, 100 was the absolute max. So keep the temperatures on the hotspot around there. If you notice that your dragon hates it and she won't get up there and she won't bask, then I would adjust it a little, which makes the dimmer switch on that dome heat light amazing, because you can just adjust it a little here and there and make it work for your dragon. As far as substrates though, you can use paper towels, you can use tile. These are just leftover tiles that my parents had when they redid their bathroom, and I just used a cheap tile cutter and cut them down. You can see that they're clearly not perfect, but they do the job. You can also use reptile carpets. With reptile carpets though, make sure that you clean them. I know some you can just throw into the wash machine and clean them, but especially if they're using the bathroom on that carpet, it can just harbor parasites. And if you want a more naturalistic look, you can always look into bioactive setups for your bearded dragons. Please never ever ever use calci sand. That is one of the huge things that's marketed to bearded dragons. If an animal is calcium deficient, then they can actually eat the sand and ingest it, and it'll sit in their stomachs and it can cause impaction. But she does enjoy the tile. They actually keep her nails filed down really nicely. I do want to eventually grout the tile down, just because I'm scared that her nails might get stuck in between them at some point. But yeah, I've really enjoyed the tile as a substrate. When she eats bugs, and especially things like hornworms and dubia roaches, which can make a mess, you just wipe it away and it's fantastic. As far as a background for my bearded dragon, I have all 3 walls covered, and the backgrounds are actually on the inside of the tank. And I'll put the annotation here of how I've got that background inside and safe for my bearded dragon. But I do that because when I had the background on the outside, she could see her reflection and she would just glass surf non-stop. You do want to have a background if at all possible, just because it makes them feel safer, more secure, kind of being closed in. Especially, she's in my living room because she likes the attention, but sometimes if the kids are running around or the dogs are running around and they're being crazy, it can make her a little nervous. So let's talk about food. Bearded dragons need a pretty big variety of foods to keep them happy and healthy. So I feed Zsasz crickets, waxworms, dubia roaches, hornworms. Occasionally I give her superworms. With superworms and hornworms, I just want to give you a heads up, they bite. They do bite. Then I have a salad for her. So right now she's eating collard greens, mustard greens, butternut squash, and dragon bites. So I'll put the link down below. I have a list of some really good foods that you can feed them and things that you should never feed them. But all that, I think that one is actually on the beardeddragon.org as well. So one thing you never ever 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 want to do is pull bugs from outside to feed to your bearded dragon, because you never know if they've been exposed to pesticides or if they've been eating something that could hurt your bearded dragon. It's just always best to buy from breeders. I always advocate for Zsasz frogs. I'm in no way affiliated with them at all. I just always get really quality products for them, and they have really good prices. But I always get crickets and waxworms and stuff from them. So calcium and vitamins. Anytime you give your bearded dragon any kind of insects, you want to dust them in a calcium and a vitamin supplement, or a vitamin supplement. I like to do calcium 5 days a week and vitamins 2 days a week. So you'll notice that she doesn't have a water dish in her tank. And this is something that I get a lot of comments about. I would highly suggest putting a water dish in your bearded dragon's tank. I don't have one in hers because I know that she doesn't drink out of it. The only time that she drinks water is in the bathtub. That's because from what I've read, bearded dragons can't see water unless it's moving. So she will not drink water out of a water dish. I had it in there for well over a year and she never drank water out of it. That's why I give her a bath as often as I do, because she does drink water in the bathtub, she just won't drink it out of a dish. And even in the bathtub, she doesn't drink water every single day. But I would suggest putting a water dish in your bearded dragon's tank, because most bearded dragons will find it and they will drink out of it. And when you put water in that water dish or give them a bath, you should treat it with ReptiSafe, and it adds more calcium to the water, and it just takes out the chlorine and it makes the water a little more safe for your bearded dragon. As far as telling if your bearded dragon is a male or a female, I'm going to put some very helpful pictures right here, and you can kind of see the difference there between the male and the female. If you do this though, make sure you don't pull their tail up too high because you can break it. So as your bearded dragon gets older, if they are a female, they need a dig box. So what a dig box is it can literally just be a little shoe box that you get from the Dollar Tree. You just cut a hole in the top or in the side or whatever, and you put different kinds of substrate on the inside of it. I know some people put play sand in there, and another one vermiculicite maybe. Basically, if your bearded dragon's a female, then she could become what's called gravid, and that means that she will have eggs that aren't fertile, but she'll still need somewhere to lay them. And if a bearded dragon doesn't have the proper place to lay those eggs, she won't lay them. And they'll actually calcify inside of her body, and she could potentially die. Zsasz here actually had what's called egg binding or calcified eggs. She became gravid before she was even 9 months old, which normally things like that don't happen until after they're a year old. But after countless vet visits, like at least 15-20 vet visits, like it was insane, and she actually had 30 something, I don't remember, calcified eggs in her body, and they had to be removed, and they removed her uterus, and it was a very expensive surgery. Anyways, definitely get a dig box for your bearded dragon. I'll try to find a link to how to do that, and I'll also put that in the description for you guys. Another important thing about bearded dragons that I wanted to say is that they do require vet visits. Bearded dragons are notorious for getting parasites, especially if you feed crickets. Crickets are riddled with parasites, and it very much increases their chance of getting those. So bearded dragons need to be taken at least once a year to get tested for parasites, or if you see that they're acting funny or not eating, they have to be taken to the vet to get tested and possibly treated for parasites. The vet bill was something that I did not expect when I got my bearded dragon. I have spent so much money on taking my dragon to the vet, but that is something that's very important to note. Speaking of parasites, you want to make sure that you are cleaning this thing down. I would say at least every 2 weeks, maybe a month if your bearded dragon doesn't use the bathroom in their tank like she doesn't. I use this Fluker's Super Scrub with organic cleaner. I just make sure that I get everything, because like I said, they are very prone to parasites, and if they're pooping in their tank and anything's getting left over, it's just a breeding ground for parasites. So you want to make sure that you're keeping that tank clean. And also, the moment that you notice that your bearded dragon has used the bathroom in their tank, you need to clean that up. Having a bearded dragon, though, has been more than rewarding. She was my first real reptile. I had some water turtles before, and I'm sorry, I'm just not a fan of those. But she was my first real reptile, and I love her so much. It actually is a very rewarding experience. People look at me like I'm weird. I mean, I'll have all these other reptiles too, but it is like having another puppy, or like you see, she's just nuzzling me this entire video, and it's wonderful. So if bearded dragon is something that you're looking into, I would definitely do my research, and I would highly suggest getting one if it's something that you can maintain and that you can take care of. But please check out those links in the description, especially if you're getting your first bearded dragon. They're so helpful. They saved me. They saved me and my bearded dragon when I first got one. But thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a good day. Bye.